Namaste, one and all, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome back to your favorite show with your favorite bro. Back one more time to start this week off right. We are back with Quick Takes, season 3, episode 11B. Like always, if you have not, go back and like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff on the you know previous episodes. The football frenzy you have been missing out on, jump off last season. If you're missing out on, I have brought those up before. Uh, I promise to you, season 2 of Jump Out is coming right around the corner. It is game 15 tonight. So, just take patient with me. It will be out very, very soon. But till then, you already know what it is. We are back with NFL action. The only way we know how to start off our week right, Sunday slate, and let's get into it. 13 game slate, 8 of those being in divisional matchups. So you already know we are headed to the playoffs when the games are starting to get good, and no better games than divisional games. And in this one, well, to start this week off, let's just remind ourselves the teams on by this week. It is the fabulous Colts and the succumbent Saints, I guess. Best way to put it up. Let's get started. First, we are starting out in Madrid, Spain, 3-7 team against a 3-7 team. It is the Commanders at Dolphins, essentially. And the game is going down to the wire. Last time I checked, usually I don't do this, but it was a Matt Gay missed field goal with 10 seconds left on the game. You already know we do our picks the night previous, so before this game even went through, we had the Dolphins winning it. They have 10 seconds to go kick a field goal after a missed 56-yarder. So does Petty McDaniel come out? For him, it would be a tribute to Dan Quinn. I mean, if you look at the interviews, the way he has spoken up about him and the way he saved McDaniel from alcoholism, amongst all the other stuff back in Washington or Atlanta. So they have a rich history going back to it. It's Mariota against Tua. You would expect Tua to perform, but guess not. No Scary Terry, no Jay Daniels. Also, the lack of pass rush for Washington this year has been scary to say the least, because yes, there are new faces and new people, new players in the building, especially in the defensive line, but not getting any sort of pass rush. Dorrance Armstrong, who's been hurt for most of the year, has been your best pass rusher. Yeah, not replacing Von Miller, or getting Von Miller and him not really equating to anything. Yeah, that plays a factor as well. But yeah, I mean, no playoffs this year. We'll see what happens going forward with this roster, with this team. I don't think the coaches get fired, but Cliff might head out to go look for a venture of his own. There's a lot to be, you know, said and seen on both sides here. Dolphins that we did pick, hopefully they come out on top. Moving on, talk about the divisional matchups. It is the Bengals at Steelers, Uncle 2.0, and in this one, gotta rock out with the home team, right? I mean, offensively, both went at it. Like it's not that either offenses are gonna slow down. Especially for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think they actually need to show up and actually put up over 20 points offensively to show that, hey, we can actually stay with our defense to possibly get to the playoffs and not just lose in the first game. It goes back down to the Cincinnati wide receiver, especially Jamar Chase, who had, I believe, 23 targets, 16 catches, nearly 150 or over 150 yards. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. I feel like it should be pretty apparent, like you want to slow down as much as you can, and bracket Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Outside of that, you live with whatever the results are. On the other side, you yourself don't have enough weapons for Aaron Rodgers outside of DK Metcalf, who, the more you look into him, he looks more and more like a 1B and not a 1A. Um, that's even going back to your Seattle days where he was the primary number one, but just because you were primary number one doesn't automatically make you a 1A. When I think about 1A, I think about a Jerry Rice, a Megatron, T.O., Playmaker, like those type of guys. I don't see even a Julio in more recent times, Mike Evans. I just don't see that in DK. Just like a slight peg behind, which is still great. Don't get me wrong, but it's not in one of the greatest category. And then the Steelers defense and special teams, like I mentioned, the last game was in Cincinnati. They had all the momentum going, prime time. Woo, woo. This time, 10 a.m. kickoff Eastern time at home. Once Renegade hits, I mean, the Terrible Towers should be flowing. I expect you to win this, Pittsburgh. Please, please, and please. Moving on, it is the Los Angeles Chargers traveling out to Jacksonville. It should be interesting in this one. I am rocking out with the Jags. I could be a divisional hater if you want me to be, but they did beat Kansas City out there. It is still the same team. Yes, they are missing out on their best weapons in Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr., who I do believe is suffering from other stuff and not just in-game play. But I digress. Um, it should be intriguing to see how they keep performing as they are relatively still young, first-year head coach um, against Jim Harbaugh. So it's hard to pick that. But a 10 a.m. Eastern kickoff for a Pacific team, I mean, being a Raiders fan, seeing how the Niners perform in those times, they win a lot more than we do, but it's still a struggle for every which team, even Seattle. So in that sense, I will rock out with the Jags. Also, the secondary for the Chargers, I still believe it could be had. Also, their tackles, I mean, essentially their offensive line is into second and third stringer. So having Josh Allen Hines on one side, having Trayvon Walk on the other, Lewican down the middle, I think that should hopefully play a factor into kind of containing, definitely not stopping, but containing Justin Herbert, which in turn might, help them out, steal a win at home. Also, Jacks fans, let's show some love. Let's come out, like let's act like we actually might get to the playoffs. Not dwell on the loss of against the Texans, but push on for a new week, which it is. And then we move on. It is the Bucks being hosted by the Bills, both at 6-3, and we are rocking out with the Bucks in this one, not the Bills at home. We are rocking out with the Road Dogs. We are rocking out with Baker against Josh Allen. And why do I say that? Who is Josh Allen's number one wide receiver? Is it Dalton Kincaid? Well, he's out in this one. Is it Khalil Shakir? He's hurt and he has not performed this year. Is it Keon Coleman? He is a healthy scratch. If you look around, yeah, like Stephon Diggs, I guess, was a problem. But if you look at New England right now, I don't think they mind him being whatever the problem you thought he was going to be. He is about to be a four-time father in the course of a year, so I think hopefully responsibilities is kind of falling upon his shoulders as well. Um, and yeah, I think it's really that simple that you don't have somebody of that caliber at wide receiver slash pass catcher. Dawson Knox might be there. Others might be there. You might want to let James cook, but he has not cooked as much as you want him to. He has at certain points, but it's been flashes this year compared to a full sample size that was last year. Um, that has been in part to Joe Brady. That has been in part to how the games have folded, and that has been in part to how the whole squad has looked. Um, on the other side, Bucks. I mean, last week we did pick them to win, but unfortunately they could not overcome their injuries. Yeah, defense travels. I think Bucks have a great defense. Kept calling Todd Bowles Lovey Smith last week. I apologize. That's on me. Mixed up the two brilliant defensive minds. Um, and yeah, I apologize on that one. But going back to it, Todd Bowles is going to have a defense that's ready to go on the road against MVP. And their secondary is getting healthier. They have Hall of Famers on one, two, three levels of defense. Bills might not be able to run the ball, and we're gonna have to see what the outcome might be. If it's a close game late in the fourth quarter, yes, Bills came back against the Ravens earlier in the season, but Baker did that against damn near every team. So if you know his running game is decently healthy, Ben Brereton being out kind of does hurt that, but if there's any sort of run game for Tampa Bay and Baker to cook with, I think they cook and they cook a lot up there in Buffalo. Moving on, we move from Buffalo, but we stay in the north. It is the Chicago Bears taking on the Vikings on the road. In this divisional matchup, I'm rocking out with the Vikings. They have failed me way too many times before, but being a home field advantage, let's hope after a loss, the nine shows up and not JJ McCarthy. And yeah, against Chicago, his team essentially growing up. It's always sweet to beat one of those teams. Brady and Rodgers probably hold that against the Niners. Um, Dan Marino against the Steelers, possibly, or Eagles. I don't know who he really considers Pittsburgh's team. Probably Pittsburgh, though. I meant Pennsylvania's team. Yeah, and it should be interesting to see the pass catchers and which ones actually step up. You have, I mean, if you look into it, DJ Moore, Luther Burden, and Roma Dunze on one side. You have Justin Jefferson, you have Jordan Addison, and whoever you want to put in as a wide receiver three there with the TJ Hawkinson. And on the other side, you have Cookman and Colston Loveland. Like the amount of pass catchers in this game is hilarious. It's almost like old school national title game between Alabama and I guess Clemson. Yeah, that's just phenomenal. But in this one, Chicago kind of, faces some adversity. They have been winning for a lot of weeks in a row. They kind of get a little setback, see how they, get over this hump. And then we're going to see how, their season ends out, how the NFC North shapes up, and how that shapes up the whole NFC picture, playoff picture. Um, moving on, Texans at the Titans, another divisional matchup. Let's keep this short. Cam Ward fired coach, no weapons. Other side, no CJ Stroud, David Dougie Mills come back against the Jags last week. Healthier Nico Collins and a healthier Christian Kirk, and then that defense travels, rocking out with the Texans in that one, keeping it short and simple. Moving on, Panthers at Falcons. I think you got to keep it short and simple in this divisional matchup as well. It's never that simple, but in this one, Falcons, if you want to show anything, if you want to keep Raheem Morris as your coach, you respond to that 30-0 ass whooping you got up in Carolina earlier in the season. Also, at home, I do believe Carolina Falcons, Atlanta Falcons are 27-9 against the Falcons, against the Panthers, mixing these teams up. Yeah, it should be, the weapons of the Falcons kind of overshadowing the weapons of the Carolina Panthers, because if you look into it, the investment in Drake London, the investment in Kyle Pitts are far more than other than Ted McMillan out in Carolina. And after this year, the question that arose for Bryce Young, does that start arising for Michael Penix? Because he still has not been able to sell me. I don't know how if he has been able to sell the fan base in Atlanta or other NFL fan bases about him. I don't contest his abilities. I just don't know what it is, but it has not looked right in Atlanta so far. Green Bay traveling out to the Big Apple, taking on the New York Giants. No Jackson Dart, no Scatterboo, but Jameis does wins ton. And I mean, in this one, y'all be careful. Losing to Cleveland, losing to Carolina, this Green Bay team just scared me. But in this one, I will still rock out with them. Defense travel. Jeff Halfley's defense should do their thing. It was a close one against the Eagles. Very close one against the Eagles at home, but unfortunately they did lose that one. So hopefully they come out with a revenge. I mean, like I mentioned, no wide receiver one, no RB1, no QB1. Evan Neal's out at offensive line. I do believe he's offensive lineman number 3, 4, 5 though. Um, and then if you look into defense, I mean, the way they were running 3, 4 so far this year was such a malpractice that just irked my soul seeing it. Hopefully Mike Kafka changes it to a 4-3. I mean, not just based off your history, but also based off your division, uh, based off your personnel, and amongst other things. I think Giants as a whole organization is a malpractice. I just wrote down for just that defensive aspect, but I think them and the Jets, the whole organization, are malpractices. So we'll rock out with Green Bay and Jordan Love, who still leaves me with a little bit of questions as well. Not to the sense of can he win, but what level can he get to in terms of winning. And I do believe, for the Packers fans, they also do question Matthew Golden. I mean, he was a first round pick that they never do, but he has not really stepped up and showed out like Emeka Buka has. Even as a rookie, you hope he gets better over the course of his career, but so far that has not looked like a hit. Um, but you can't jump into conclusions just yet. Moving on, 7-2 Seattle Seahawks traveling out to LA, who are also 7-2. By LA, I do mean the Rams. Yes, it is another division matchup. Like I mentioned, 8 of those in this beautiful Sunday. We're rocking out with the Seahawks in this one. Why do I say that? Because yes, they are on the road, but if you look into Mike McDonald's incredible record, he's actually far superior on the road than he is at home. Don't know why. 12 should be, his backbone, but it's actually the inverse. Maybe it's the 12s on the road that's his backbone. Whatever the case may be, Devon Witherspoon, you have Rick Willen on the other side against Devonta Adams and Puka Nakua. You can never ask for anything better than that. You have Cooper Cup on one side and JSN on the other. Unfortunately, no Torrey Horton in this one, but you do have Rashid Shaheed probably making his debut as a Seattle Seahawk. So it's not that they are, missing out on weapons. Even if that doesn't work out, you do have your AJ Varner and your other rookie tight end, as well as Rams using three tight end sets last week. So it should be a phenomenal chess match. The offensive genius that Sean McVay is against a defensive mastermind that Mike McDonald could be. This is probably my most favorite game. I'm not gonna lie for this weekend. Yeah, stay tuned. I have no dogs in the fight, but rocking out with Seattle in this one. Yeah, that means if they just force Matthew Stafford to one, two, two is, I mean, I feel like that's way too much. Maybe a pick and a fumble, but I think if they get a pick or a fumble, I think Seattle probably. I mean, their offense has been so efficient. I feel like they can kind of come out on top in this one. I hope this matchup is similar to how Seattle had a matchup against Tampa Bay earlier in the season in Seattle. I do believe there was like a 38-35 game that went down to like the last few minutes, and that's when Baker did bake and came out on top. But in this one, being that it could be to shape up the division going forward, I hope Seattle gets this one in the bag. Maybe the one up in Seattle later on in the season. Rams come back and exact their revenge. Moving on, but staying in the NFC West, it is the Niners traveling out to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. In this one, I'm rocking out with the Niners. You know what? Yeah, Brock Purdy returning, Ricky Pearshaw returning. You should be, getting your good energy, get juju back. I feel like it's really that simple. Will Johnson being hurt pretty much all of this season, kind of. If you look into Cardinals' pass catching options, you do have Trey McBride. I'll not discredit him, but outside of him and Marvin Harrison, who do you really have that's stepping up or reliable? Essentially nobody. It's QB1 and QB2 battles on both sides. Like the turmoil of who's gonna, or who should stay at quarterback one going forward for this season is already a loud conversation. You have George Kittle, you have C Mac taking on a third string running back in a sense. It should be interesting to see how the Niners offensive line cope against um, the Cardinals pass rush because I do believe they are underrated. Walter Nolan Jr. He just came out on fire. You do have Calais Campbell down the middle. You do have Joshua on the outside, so it's not like they are just walkover. But not having Mac Wilson, your green dot, amongst other pieces, yeah, it's hard to kind of push through. I do believe, unfortunately for Buda Baker as well, I think he's losing his passion because of the amount of losing that he is doing. I respect his loyalty, but I think it might be time, along with Cam Jordan, that they, start looking at their future going forward and start being a little bit more selfish for themselves. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Gotta rock out with the Bay in this one. I feel like I've picked the Niners in a few weeks, so gotta go back to the Bay. Ravens at the Browns for the next one. I'm rocking out with the Ravens. Their margin of error for the rest of the season is not looking that well. After this one, I think they are just one game back from the Steelers in the divisional lead, which they are trying to get to because wild card is not a possibility. And yeah, I think Lamar Jackson against Dylan Gabriel. I'm taking Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry against Judkins. I'm still taking Derrick Henry so far. Defensively, I'm taking Jim Schwartz defense, but it does look like Baltimore can, just be enough to be bend and not breakable. I hope they start getting healthier, just, do their part. Um, they have lost out on Namdi Matabuke for the rest of the year, so that interior presence is missed like tremendously. That's been like unspoken for and unaccounted for as much. But yeah, I think Browns, they probably can play a defensive spoiler. But I gotta rock out with the Ravens. I feel like questioning Lamar Jackson is just not good for my soul. Yeah, it's really that simple. Talk about my soul. This one irks my soul. Kansas City 5-4, Broncos 8-2. And I'm rocking out with Kansas City. Yes, I am wearing red. It was kind of indicative of that little bit, but it is also because Broncos really have not beaten quality opponents so far. If you look into their record, I do not want to go into and be a revisionist, but no Pacheco against no J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins, broke their streak. Their broke the Broncos streak of not having a 100-yard rusher, and I want to say over 34 games, definitely over 20 games. So not having RB1. Oh, we have RJ Harvey, and he's cool. Is he a RB1? Is he that good to go against a Kansas City, the Super Bowl winning defense and Spags and all of that, to take that pressure off of Bo Nix? Is he going to be able to pick up on pass rush splits? It's going to be interesting to see all of that coming through. It's experience against youth, and you got to trust that on the championship experience. You have Mahomes, Kelsey, all their weapons healthy. Josh Simmons coming back on that offensive line while you're actually losing Jonah Elliott. Prayers out to Alex Singleton and his cancer diagnosis. Prayers out to you, bro. Probably side, you already know. Life's first. And then PS2 still being hurt. So you have pieces missing on each end. Kansas City is not going to look back. They are actually going to try to exploit those holes. And offensively for the Denver Broncos, I'm going to stay harping on that same thing. Cortland Sutton, yeah, he's the wide receiver one, but he's not really a wide receiver one either. That used to be Jerry Judy. And after that, you really can't really rely on a weapon. Yes, Troy Franklin's there. Yes, Mims is there. Are those the type of reliable weapons that even like T Higgins, Jordan Addison? They are not those type of Smitty. They're not those type of weapons as a number two. So unless they step up, Evan Ingram has not gone to the heights that we had expected out of the Joker role from him and Sean Payton. Um, and yeah, I think it's going to be a masterclass defensively. Spags against Vance Joseph. Um, but I do believe Spags, the special teams coordinator, even if it's on the road, I think they come out on top in this one. Yeah, just got to rock out with the experience factor so far. Moving on to the Sunday night football to finish this off, and I will finally stop talking for you guys to enjoy your fine Sunday. It is Lions traveling on out to Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, to take on the Super Bowl champions in the Philadelphia Eagles, and we are rocking with the EAGLES Eagle at home. Why do I say that? Because, like I mentioned, for the Kansas City Chiefs, that championship DNA. They have won. They went to a Super Bowl prior to that. They won a Super Bowl even prior to that. Lane Johnson's a freaking dog. Being hurt, but he still came back to finish that game. That gave him the attitude. Saquon being hyped. When I mean hyped, I mean hype. For that spinny touchdown, it was a 14-7 game. The house looks to be on fire. AJ Brown wants to be traded. All of that. Yet AJ Brown could still be traded. Well, he can't be traded until the offseason. And until the offseason, he is going to stay locked in. The Eagles are going to stay locked in. Sirianni's going to find his motivations. And I mean, Eagles just don't really even need motivation. They are self motivated. But if there was anything to be had, yes, okay, cool. AJ Brown's going to be traded. It's not going to happen until the offseason. So, till that point, they could go pick up another Super Bowl ring. And if there looks to be a possibility of a three-peat, just like Kansas City, there is going to be ways that somehow, some way, that year could be, kind of just like the last dance. You just get that out of the way, and then after that, AJ Brown goes moves on somewhere else, whatever happens, and the team can disband and reassess itself after that. But till that point, till at least the end of the season, whatever you want to say, however you want to say it, defense, offense, they are going to win out. Talk about pass rush really quickly. They did struggle with that earlier in the season, but now they have so many bodies. Who got healthier? The pieces that they added in, Jalen Phillips, who looked phenomenal, having a sack in the last game. He looks like I mentioned in last week's video, re-energized. Getting BG back just gets everybody in the building going. The energy is infectious. The leadership is, like underrated in a sense. It just comes back down to the boys up in defensive line. Jordan Davis looks to be in phenomenal shape in like his body type and body size. Jalen Carter, I think, could, I feel like he is so talented that he takes some stuff for granted in a sense, like respectfully. If he worked as hard as Aaron Donald did, like there's no question in my mind he has a chance to be amongst the very best defensive tackles of all time. But I don't think he has that motor. Maybe once he becomes a father or something, not sure if he is. Not care about his personal life, but just the responsibility that he feels. Once he feels mature enough to get to that phase, because we talked about his speeding in Georgia, we could talk about his speeding incident in the league, um, amongst other stuff. But yeah, I do believe it gets back down to the trenches. Lions put up numbers with Dan Campbell running that offense as well. So it should be intriguing to see how that offense tries to take advantage of the secondary of the Eagles, who also did, get some pieces. Jared Alexander retiring does kind of hurt them in the back end, but you still do have Michael Carter that should help you out at least a little bit. So we're gonna have to see. Getting Jacorian Bennett and Mike Epps, former Raiders, shout out. Getting those guys back for special teams, it's gonna be phenomenal for them. And this is actually the perfect timing for them to be healthy. They start getting healthier from now till December to January, and they build their football and they play their best ball from now till January. And that's what I have for you guys this week. Also, one last thing I do want to mention: the depth that the Eagles do have due to all the injuries kind of, happening earlier in the season. Now those guys coming back like a N'Kobe Dean, Jeremiah Trotter, all those guys at linebackers, that helps out their special team. So that's another phase that they take advantage of. And being, like I mentioned, a Super Bowl champion, that is a phase of play that they will keep in mind. Being at home, this is a outside game at nighttime. The weather might play a factor. Detroit's gonna have to get used to that. Um, and that part, like if it's just running the ball, it should be interesting to see Sonic and Knuckles against Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. Yeah, I just hope no injuries come through, and like the the Seahawks and Rams game earlier, like the Bucks Seahawks game early in the season, 38-35 type of score, and I will be back just like my Raiders tomorrow. Till then, you already know what it is. It's love and peace.